The world keeps getting better when women make it a habit to fix each other's crowns and exclusively focus on picking up the broken pieces in the lives of other women. With great passion for women, children, and marriages, your hosts Ntwatwa Evelyn, Emma, Lorena, Diana D, Rhoda, and Lorita bring you the irresistible Woman to Woman reality talk show. Feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more about this eventful and exciting show. Woman to Woman reality talk show. You're welcome.
Like, when you talked about that, it just reminded me of the competition we even put to, we compete a lot as mothers. We'd be like, oh, I saw so and so doing this. I think I can also do that. Yeah. But in your capacity, can you really do it? And then we compare a lot with ourselves, even with ourselves. Like, I can look at my old me. And I'm like, but before I gave birth, this is how I looked like, And I think that comes with accepting and embracing who you have become. So I think,
I think what preparation does, it places billboards in front of you. So like if you have to go to a new place and someone will say, when you go like that and meet this billboard, it's not all direct. You have to figure out some details, where you slope from and stuff. But preparation will give you those billboards so that when you find a certain sign, it's saying stop, or please make way, keep going. So it's important to also go through that preparation process. And I think that it's also important to keep your priorities in line because there's certain things like a ripple effect. When you throw a stone in the water, the circles, they're ripple. Because when you finally become a mom and you've given birth, chances of forgetting that you're a wife, you're still a wife, you're still a sister, you're still a friend, you're still a minister. They're very high. So I think that when you finally give birth, like I said, you can take 3 to 4 months, things a little bit out of order, but then you start to pick up one by one and get back in there. It will help you have a sense of you're not feeling isolated, you're not alone, and you're not feeling like as if you're defeated and all your life is about little beings and boobs and milk and diapers and all that kind of thing. So I think we need to snap out of it quite quickly and say, let me
that we don't get lost completely
in it. And then I would say third is don't forget God. I am always wondering, how did Eve ever make it in the Garden of Eden? Because there was absolutely no in-laws, nowhere to go. She was
just there
by herself and the husband and the maker. They had to figure it out, and somehow they figured it out. It all came together. So I think we also need to remember that part. We don't have to give ourselves the right to say, oh, I am a mom, I don't have time for devotion, and I don't have time for service. I don't have time to listen to a sermon, and I don't have time. Sometimes you can feel justified, but before you know it, you're going to be about 60% backslidden by the time you get out of that. So I think when you think about organizing yourself, first I need to love the Lord, love my husband, and remember that I am all these other things. And you keep those priorities in order. They're going to give you a good ripple effect around. I think so.
The other thing that I do remember that helped me was having conversations with my mentor, an older woman, with whom we brainstormed, we talk of priorities. Okay, Daphne, what are your priorities? This, I do this, I do this, I do. It's like, okay, now you have transitioned to 2 children, so we're going to have to slice those activities into half. Because when you are nurturing another person, they are taking continually out of you, So you have to accept that that's the process.
That is going to happen.
Yes, you're giving. So that means you can't give all the other things. You can't act like this baby is not here, So I think having that conversation really helped me. And she said, it's okay. We can put this on hold. We'll come back to it after the child is 2 years. Like, okay. But there are things you really badly want to pursue. But indeed, they're having a negative ripple effect. You're not being productive 100% in all these other areas. So having those conversations that conversation really helped me keep my priorities in line and knowing what to slice back on and what to focus on while the baby was still very young. And it gave me some breathing space as well. You know, and there's going to be time ahead, you know.
Where you can give 100%.
Absolutely.
Or even, because I realized that you can want to balance everything and you give 10, you give 5, so you end up not really giving the best that you should have given.
But
also what I can...
Sorry. I was going to say that balance is one principle personally.
Yes.
I don't believe you can balance.
You can't. You can never.
Because certain things are bigger than others. That's the reality. There's no way you're going to put it on a weighing scale and it weighs the same.
Let me do
Loving
this.
your husband and
your children, give this percentage, give this percentage.
It's just like it's,
and what they are
order.
requiring actually is give me 100%.
Yes.
Give me also 100%. The
Exactly.
children are demanding a big. You get a percentage. So how do you balance that? So it really becomes hard. But what I can say is what really helped me as a person is first of all is to relax and be calm and accept. There's something about accepting your situation or what you're going through in that moment. Because I remember a scenario where you have friends and they're used to this kind of Eve who is loud, who is, doing this and this. We have a party, she's there. We are doing this, she's there. You get, like, I would be on the go all the time. So, and you know how people can make comments? Ever since she gave birth to a baby, she doesn't know us. She doesn't care about our, unions and all that. But I'm like, you know what? I can't be there for everyone. Now, if they cannot understand me, let me just relax, take a sit back and, let things happen the way they want to happen. So that really helped me a lot. But again, still in that relaxing, there is a point where and this really helped me, where I just said, I can try it. I can try it. Just like, when you have just given birth to a baby and after the months they give you before you engage to back with your husband, you feel like it's a hard time, you feel like I'm doing this, but and then you're like, I still need more time. Even with yourself, you feel like my body is not in the right shape to go back to this man. Like, how is he going to perceive it? So for me, I used to be like, no, I think I can try it. And every time I would try, the next day I'm good to go. So I feel that can also help maybe someone that if you try,
be open to trying.
So and then what we can look at is in this whole thing, I have seen women who completely lose their mental, they get issues with their mental health. Like someone who used to be this is now completely a different person, not by choice, but because of what has been happening every now and then, every time they become, ever since they became mothers. So how do we develop that awareness, like self-awareness, to be able to have a good mental health? Like yourself, how do you be aware of self that, this is what I'm going through? How do we develop it?
I think it just goes back to identity. Like you said, that you have to fight to keep your identity. It's true, you can lose your mind. I mean, I remember the time of COVID, how parents went through a crisis. Like children were at home.
COVID time.
Yeah, and they're like, hey, they're here. What are we supposed to do with them? They're here the whole day. All they ever do is watch TV, and we are together.
Even when we try to lock them in their bedroom, they will scream.
They will scream. It was really like an issue. And you see, all of that is springing from the fact that many times we enter certain institutions without being prepared. And then we don't keep step to grow spiritually. I think that the number one thing for every marriage and every individual who says, I'm a Christian, you need to keep spiritually growing. That never ends. If we could find a way that never ends, because when you are committed to spiritually grow, you're going to find yourself in different circles of people. You're going to be exposed to depth, which will ground you. You're going to be exposed to experiences and trials that will strengthen you and not allow you to go the other extreme.
Extreme, yeah.
Now, can a mature person go to that extreme? Absolutely, yes. I think that sometimes that can happen as a condition and it can be treated or whatever it is. But I really think that if any Christian is keeping up with their spiritual maturity, growing in the Word and feeding themselves with the Word, there's going to be a whole lot a difference when it comes to things that stress us to that point. Because there's so many families that needed a lot of help at that time. How do I cope with the children? I've never been with my children this long in my house. It's a shame, but that's where the country had come. And I think that as a church, we come in there to emphasize that point and help people, to teach them that, this is your family. You should be spending most of the time with them. And it should be very normal for you to be able to do that. So I think for me, number one, I would think that we need to fight hard to keep with our spiritual growth. We need to. Yes.
That's important.
Well, to add to what Joyce said, I think self-awareness requires that you take stock of how you're doing.
Yeah.
Mentally, spiritually, emotionally. So I think sometimes we don't take stock.
We just see things happen.
We just see things happen. We just go through the emotions, and that's a very dangerous thing to do. So I think taking stock of where you are, who you used to be,
and who you are
and
now.
who you are now, and like when something is not adding up, like okay, hold
you
on.
Can recognize.
Yes, you can recognize that. You know what? I feel sad. I feel overwhelmed.
I don't know why. So
I don't know why I feel this way. So I think that is very important when you put words to how you feel. So I think I think of the time when we were living abroad, and I would have like times when I would just burst out in tears, just suddenly. And so I would text my mom, she was back here, and I'm like, I don't know, suddenly today I started crying, and she's like, is it baby blues, is it this? So I started reading up on a few things here and there, and talking to friends at church, of like, okay, I'm feeling this way, and suddenly you have this whole body of information from other mothers, of like, okay, I feel like I'm not adding up. I'm not excited about life. I just feel empty. I feel, So being able to voice that, is very, very important, so that you can move on to the next stage of seeking help and being able to transition well. Because if you don't, that's going to affect your mothering.
Yeah, true.
It's going to affect your children, right? So I think that's what I could say.
And I love when you pointed out something to do with like voicing out, and I believe like self-aware is bigger than how we just see it in a certain I'm aware of myself. This is what I love. This is what I do. So sometimes the environment, or let me say like the people around us can help us to recognize the things that we don't see.
Oh yeah.
Do you get that? I'll be there and probably I'm overwhelmed. And I'm not aware that I'm overwhelmed. And then someone else is like, but how has your schedule been this week? You've been doing this, you've been doing that, you've been doing the other thing. So do you know that you're tired? Do you know that you need rest? And in your mind, you've not yet seen this. So the people that are around us sometimes also help us to discover ourselves, to know ourselves better, so that we can also be good mothers. And maybe something I would add to that still on awareness is when we are full of self, like when we know, when we know ourselves better, it is even quicker and easier in the way that we parent or we mother our children. Because sometimes, for example, there is a moment where I think with my first child, I would come back from work. I did have a house help. And my husband then used to work up country. So I would come back home, do the things I do. I don't rest enough. I feel like I need to be doing this and the other thing. And sometimes I would feel like my head is pumping in a certain way. I feel like I'm getting annoyed most of the times. Like someone comes, tells me this, I just answer them in a rude way. And I just react. So then a friend of mine told me, but if I think this whole thing of you now that you're a mother, I think it's a bit overwhelming because you're juggling so many things. How about you find someone to help you at home so that you don't? And then afterwards, when it happened, I realized I was becoming a better person.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm no longer like, tough, because you've had a lot with yourself and then you have to give out. But how do you give from an empty tank? Like, I mean, you can't give from emptiness. So I need for us like to be aware of ourselves so that we can give best. Yeah, but before we wind up, ladies, what has been your hardest part of being a mother? What is that thing you'll be like, oh, this has really been a journey, or because we are still on the journey anyway?
Yes, that's true. We're still on the journey. What has been the hardest thing for Joy? Let me see. Daphne, you can go first if you have that to share.
I think it had a lot to do with the sacrifice, honestly.
Yes.
When you become a mom, you forget about personal time. You forget about me time, and now your life is completely upside down. Yeah. So the intensity of I have to stay watchful of the child 24/7. Sometimes really stresses me out. It really stresses me out so much. And I think of my second born. Usually he's so clingy. So you have those babies who are like 100% clingy, and nobody's going to soothe them. Nobody's like they will want mama
to be there.
So sometimes my firstborn will say, Awasa is looking for you, he wants you, and you should think of it in a nice way, but when you're exhausted, it's the most irritating thing to hear. Like, can't they just be fine? But then to just hold yourself back and say, I'm here for them.
Yes, I have to be here for them.
I'm supposed to be here, and I need to change that selfish, and mindset. But also the other thing that has been difficult about being a mother is, dream versus reality. Yes. In the sense that you are shaping these human beings. So as you're shaping them, you make so many mistakes. Yeah. Or, sometimes, in terms of discipline, like you're disciplining your child. Sometimes I've had to ask myself, am I disciplining this child to the glory of God, or is it a pet peeve? They threw down, let's say, your phone or whatever. So are you disciplining them so that they respect the phone, or because you are so attached to the phone?
I know.
So coming to parenting has exposed my flaws, my weaknesses, things I haven't dealt with as an adult myself. You lose your temper so quickly and all of that. So I think being able to see yourself through them can be quite humbling. And sometimes you I've learned to say.
Definitely, before I forget this, sorry to cut you short. Right. There is a gentleman who said that the hardest thing in life is to fight the you. Yeah. You see your child growing up and they are probably doing the same things that you used to do, or they tell you that you used to do. And then you're fighting them. Why are you stubborn? Why are you doing this? Like you're trying literally to fight who you used to be.
Yes, yeah. So just that reality of this is my weakness that I need to deal with. This really has nothing to do with the child. So those are some of the hard things.
And my hardest part of this whole thing of mothering has been fear, to a point that I love the fact that my husband is a good support system in that, because many times he reminds me that, who do you believe in? I mean, who are you looking up to in all this whole thing of mothering? Where are you getting, why do you have this all fear? Because even the Bible says that fear is not of the Lord. Right. I'm telling you, because as a mother, yes, we are called to nurture. We have that kind of we want to give out love. We don't want to see our children suffer. Yeah. We don't want to see them have problems or you know. So this whole thing has really put me in a certain place, and I'm like, God just keep helping me each day at a time. Because, like, for example, when they go out to play, I'm like, they're running here and there. I'm like, guys, be careful. I don't want to hit anyone getting a problem.
Yeah.
But someone else is like, no, they're having fun. If they get a problem, it is okay. For me, I'm like, no. You can't.
Yeah.
So that fear
Yeah.
has been the hardest thing for me too, you know. Even when they're in the sitting room, I quickly see that something is going to happen. And the moment my husband tells me, like, no, you leave them, and something happens, I feel like I should have told you that, just see what I was telling you. But you're like, no, I will not put it in that in that way. But you know, the fear. And then another thing is, you know, feeling like, yes, they are growing up. How are they going to be?
Yeah.
Like, I always I keep imagining, like, now they are growing. Am I doing my best
Right.
that will sustain them even when they grow up? So it is hard,
Mommy guilt,
honestly.
Mommy guilt.
Mommy guilt. Like, you know, am I doing my best? Am I giving them what I am supposed to give them that will sustain them? So for me, those have been at the top. Well, there are others, but
Those, yeah.
at the top.
I think for me, it's an ongoing, let me call it concern.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it fear. I think, honestly, the more you grow spiritually in the Lord,
The mother feared
the more you realize how important salvation is.
yeah.
And how it's not a joke.
Yeah, true.
It's not something that you can get by your own power and impart on someone. But yet, motherhood is a journey to participate in this noble work of salvation, you know, bringing up children in that regard. So I catch myself many times in that scripture of Malachi, the godly offspring. I'm just like, are we doing this?
Yeah.
Are we going the right direction? And again, you know, the Holy Spirit will remind you, say, it's not your work. You put the seed, you trust me to water and bring the fruit. I think for me, that's always a constant. It's the more I grow older, the more I realize it was wasted years without salvation.
Yes.
Now the greatest thing is salvation. And if all the children that I know in the world, that God, not just mine, but growing up and giving them an environment where they can be, let me use the word, prone to salvation, is something that I dearly treasure. And sometimes when I, you know, as a pastor, looking at children in church, looking at mothers in church, I know we want our kids to be a certain way, but I'm always asking myself, is this mother, am I as a mother helping this child to be stationed at that place, that stage where this vehicle of salvation is going to come and carry them? Are they at that point? So I feel like for me, that is like a constant in there. And I think in terms of human management is having 3, all different stages, trying to keep them managed. This one is 11. My birthday is coming. This one is 9. I'm a girl. I need this. I need this. You know, everyone is going through their special transition. And as a mom, trying to keep up and make sure every transition is, you know, smoothly attended to. It becomes a challenge because sometimes when they come, you might not be financially straight. You might not be having the time, or something is pressing you marital-wise, you know. So, yeah. And then, of course, I realized my role as a mom to keep dad involved.
Yes.
Right.
And making this parenting thing a partnership before them. You know, it's also a very huge thing behind in the back of my mind. So sometimes when I'm leaving home, they'll ask me, so mommy, who are you leaving us with? I'm like, you're going to stay by yourselves. Oh, the 2 of you are going. So sometimes the dad will help to come in and watch them. And for me, that really blesses me, because what it says is that as the Lord has helped me, my husband is comfortable to keep our children. Sometimes you can find a husband who is not comfortable to keep their own. Like, there's just too much work. It's just a process.
Even the woman, I'm not comfortable leaving my children. They say it so many times. Like, I can't leave my children with the father because I feel like he's not able
Imagine.
to manage.
And we deny them that opportunity. So I feel like it's also been a huge blessing to find my husband saying, you can go your way. I will take care of them.
Okay.
I know what to do. You just tell me what to do and I will do it. And you can go your way, which has actually also, it puts down the pressure of being a mom. Always, I usually tell my husband, if I was to be paid 5,000 every time my kids called me, mommy, and you give 5,000, you'll be broke. Because they're always calling mommy. And hear that sound. Even when I'm here in this show, I feel like I'm hearing them asking questions, So, but that has been, I think, for me, that's my experience.
There's something, Joy, you mentioned about, being able to see that as they are growing, you're doing your part so that everyone feels like catered for, kind of.
Yes.
There are many times I have had, people, women, like men, saying that, when we were growing up, my mother loved so and so more than they loved me.
Favoritism.
And for me, sometimes it gets me thinking, like, so how am I going to do this whole thing of mothering without my children feeling like I have put priority on someone or I've loved this one more than the other person? That how can I strike a balance that when Ian needs me, I can be there, and when Eldad needs me, I am there, and Eliana, I can be there. So that whole thing of, like, I don't want at a particular point to hear them say, I think mommy loves so and so more than you. Also, because it's a hard thing by the to balance sometimes, because one is younger and the other one is a bit older, and you have to attend to the youngest sometimes more than the elder. So unless definitely helps. It was an amazing show. Good to have you, ladies. Thank you for coming. To our viewers, please like our show. If this content is good for you, please subscribe, comment, and give us your views, your opinions in the comment section. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
The world keeps getting better when women make it a habit to fix each other's crowns and exclusively focus on picking up the broken pieces in the lives of other women. With great passion for women, children, and marriages, your hosts Ntwatwa Evelyn, Emma, Lorena, Diana D, Rhoda, and Lorita bring you the irresistible Woman to Woman reality talk show. Feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more about this eventful and exciting show. Woman to Woman reality talk show. You're welcome.